Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters. Peugeot Milncraft here with a best of 3 between OGSMC and GGNaugrim. This is a Protoss versus Zerg. We see that the red Protoss player here, of course, OGSMC, very, very famous, one of the best Protoss players in the world. In my opinion, he's the most consistent pro gamer in the world. He's won 2 GSLs, which is probably the most prestigious tournament in the world. He's just a terrific player all around. And his opponent is GGNaugrim. GGNaugrim is not as well known as OGSMC, but I guess very few players are, so we can't necessarily fault him. Naugrim is a very good player. He won Craft Cup number 13, and he's just kind of competed around the world in various tournaments. He's done a very good job, and it's a very good player. This should be a very good game. The map is Metalopolis. Very common map, has been in the ladder pool since the beginning. Very popular map as well. The players are in close spawns. We see actually that the Overlord is just scuttling over to the Protoss player, and actually to not give away his position. It's not going to matter much anyway because the probe scouted the correct direction. But I was going to say that the Overlord, to not give away a position, usually will kind of skirt around the edge of the, and he's going to do that anyway, skirt around the edge of the Nexus so that he stays out of vision. But since the probe went the correct direction, the Protoss player, MC, actually knows where his opponent is. And of course his opponent's going for a gas expand, so he's going to go ahead and get that gas at 14, and he's going to get the pool right away. And then he's going to get, as soon as the gas finishes, he'll put 3 on it and keep him on until he gets to 100 gas, and then he'll get Zergling speed. Just because Zergling speed is so incredibly useful for holding off attacks. The trade-off, of course, is that his economy is hurt more. Not necessarily just hurt more because he didn't go hatchery first, but also because the gas actually eats up a lot of your economy, because you have to sacrifice a drone and 25 minerals in order to get the extractor. It ends up slowing your economy a lot more. But this is a very safe build. It allows him to get early Zerglings out, prevents the Protoss player from doing some sort of 2-gate push in which they get a bunch of Zealots and chrono boost them out, and then just kind of walk this little short distance down this little path and take out whatever units that they can. The probe's going to go ahead and float. He'll hang out for a little bit longer, but he's going to go ahead and float on out of here after the spawning pool finishes, most likely, so that he can save the probe's life, because there's no use in throwing away that probe. He's not going to get any more scouting information. He's just going to be taken out by the Zerglings. Sometimes the Protoss player will try to put a pylon here, but Naugrim didn't go for any sort of early expansion, so he won't put a pylon down to try to block it. He'll just kind of hang out in the area, and he should move the probe back. We'll see. Oh, it looks like the probe's actually probably just going to be taken out. Yeah, but I think he's just trying to waste the Zergling's time as much as possible, so Naugrim's going to go ahead and just put 1 Zergling on him and send the other 3 up. Meanwhile, see a perfectly standard opening. We actually do see 2 Zealots coming out from MC. That's more than usual. Normally you only get 1 Zealot, and actually 3 Zealots before Cybernetics Core, so he did not get the Cybernetics Core immediately after, and now he's on to 2 gas. So it looks like a relatively mineral-heavy build, and MC actually does want to apply some pressure. Not like as heavy pressure as he could apply if he had 2-gate pressure, but he's going to have 3 Zealots, which are going to be Zealots are extremely effective against Zerglings. Each Zealot alone could take out probably 4 Zerglings, and it gets even better if you have multiple Zealots because the frontage against each one is not as big. And so he's going to go ahead and move down here, and actually he might force a cancel on this hatchery. We only see 4 new Zealots or 4 new Zerglings coming out on the part of Naugrim. 8 now. There's 10 new ones, but those ones are going to take a while. I think this hatchery is going to get canceled. He's going to send the Queen down to go help out. He really, really wants to save this hatchery. His economy is going to be really far behind if he's not able to do this. And he does have the Queen successfully attacking. However, and there you go. The rest of the Zerglings popped. And so I'm pretty sure that he's going to be able to get a nice little surround there, since the speed is finished as well, and he's going to be able to take these guys out. So lucky he was able to save the hatchery, but good pressure from MC. It made his opponent build a lot more Zerglings than he really wanted to. A constant tension for Zerg players is whether they build drones, which you see 5 new drones coming right there, or whether they build Zerglings. Drones help out in the long term because they keep obviously give you resources. They're your worker unit, and so they increase your income rate, but temporarily you're left a little bit weakened, of course, and we're going to see if he does a little counterattack here. So, and the Zerg player, Larva and Zerglings cost the same, so larva and minerals are the 2 costs of a drone and or a Zergling, and of course they cost the same for 2 Zerglings is the same price as a drone. So every 2 Zerglings he gets is 1 less drone that MC has to deal with, which is like, if you think about like Terrans who harass and maybe get 5 kills is pretty good. If they build 10 Zerglings, then that's like basically 5 drone kills. It's not quite the same because you get the Zerglings and they're still alive and walking around, but in terms of your economy, it is. The Protoss player MC has doing a switch to do a transition to a 3-gate expansion. Very common build, especially with this many sentries. You're able to create a wall of force fields, which prevents the Zerglings from really dealing that much damage. MC does want to be a little bit careful not to go wide out in the open because the sentries could run out of energy, and if they force field themselves in, the Zerglings could just back off and then re-engage. We see even more drones coming out on the part of Naugrim, as well as an evolution chamber. I would guess that the evolution chamber is for upgrades. I don't think he is expecting Void Rays at this time, and yep, we do see melee upgrades. Melee upgrades are a sign that that most likely Naugrim is going to go Ling Muta, possibly Banelings as well, or Baneling drops, which has become more popular against Protoss, in which you get Overlord drops, and then you just grab like 10 Overlords, and then oh, you do not want to lose your Zerglings like that, Naugrim. You got to be more careful. Good push out though from MC's part. But you just load like 10 Overlords up with Banelings, and then you just drop them right over the Protoss player's head. And because the Protoss player Protoss in general, likes to keep their armies pretty close, we see even more drones coming out, but a couple of Spine Crawlers to help defend for Naugrim. And Spine Crawlers are quite good at defending. But since the Protoss player likes to be so grouped up, the Baneling splash damage ends up being very effective in a defense. These guys might poke in again, but they're really not going to get much more information. And actually, there's not really that much more information to get. There's no tech structures at all on the part of MC. He's just gotten his expansion. He's getting a cannon right now to help prevent any sort of roach. I don't know if he's suspecting any sort of roach burrowing, sliding, but if you don't get a robotics bay, it's very dangerous for Protoss players. Because they just have no way of detecting them. So if you don't have a cannon up, like they can just send roaches into your base, pop up, kill a bunch of probes, pop back down, and then start sliding around. But you know, his opponent Naugrim doesn't even have a roach bay. We do see a little bit of pressure coming out from Naugrim or from MC against Naugrim, which precipitated the 4 extra Spine Crawlers he's building right now. And actually, his drone count's really low. That's why his Zergling count's really low. He just built 20 new Zerglings. So it looks like, I mean, ooh, actually, nice job not getting trapped by those force fields, and a lot of these Spine Crawlers are finishing now. Once these Spine Crawlers finish, MC's going to have a lot of trouble getting in here. Stalkers are pretty good against Spine Crawlers, but Sentries are quite poor because they just don't deal enough damage, and Spine Crawlers have 2 armor, and Sentries attacks aren't that high damage to begin with anyway. Looks like MC is going to poke a little bit more, though. I'd really recommend against this, since his opponent does have 6 Spine Crawlers. He might be just trying to reposition himself to go around them, which is why Naugrim moved them down. But with this many Zerglings, I mean, really, it's just not going to be that effective. And Naugrim really needs to micro his Zerglings around. There you go. Oh, nice force fields, though, but I don't think this attack's going to work out very well for MC. Because his forces are trapped. As soon as these force fields go away, he's not going to be able to get out without have more Spine Crawlers being able to take attacks. And then the Zerglings can just move up and engage. And Zerglings are pretty good against all of these forces. Both Sentries, well, Sentries without force fields and Stalkers. So I think if we go to the Unit Loss tab, well, actually, looks like Naugrim actually isn't that bad off in the Units Lost tab, and MC does not see the expansion, the little hidden expansion up here on Naugrim's part. MC could very easily take that out if he had noticed it, but luckily for Naugrim, he has not noticed that at all. We do see 3 more gateways coming up. I don't believe there are any other tech structures, so actually this is a very gateway-heavy build. We also do not have any ground or armor upgrades. Naugrim, knowing that MC's army is still walking back, is just going to go ahead and poke around, wants to make sure that his opponent is not taking a third, as you can see in the bottom left, and just wants to make sure he stays ahead of the economy. We see 12 new drones coming, as well as Zerg melee attack and carapace level, as well as Pathogens Glands. Pathogens Glands is an upgrade for Infestors that lets them spawn for 25 more energy, which lets them use Fungal Growth right away. And Fungal Growth is extremely potent against gateway units, especially with the recent patch, which increased the damage to armored units by 30%. That's actually like it was designed to work against Protoss, like to be more effective against Protoss, which is why they did it. We do see hallucinated Phoenix coming out and scouting. He definitely wants to be more careful with these Phoenix. Not more careful in the sense that, I guess more like diligent in the way that he's scouting, because he wants to make sure that he checks all of the expansions, because right now he still doesn't know that his opponent's already taken a third and that his opponent's taking a fourth. And when you don't know that, when your opponent's taking an expansion and you don't know that they're taking an expansion, all of your planning is entirely thrown off. Wow, 8 Infestors on the way. Those are going to be really, really effective against all of his opponent's gateway units. Meanwhile, though, MC is getting a second robotics facility as well as a robotics bay, which means he's going to have a lot of Colossus, which do a lot of damage. But as I was saying about expansions, if your opponent has a third and you think they're just taking the third instead of a fourth, it throws off all of your timings, which means that you don't want to take, you don't push to try to take a third of your own. MC is, but he's not defending it super strong right now. And you don't try to move out and engage, and you can't, of course, if you don't know about the expansion, you can't even move out to even attack the expansion. So really, MC is not behind by any means. MC is doing quite well, and he's got lots of Colossus coming out, and extended thermal lance, which increases the range of Colossus, which is extremely effective as well. So I don't want to got a burrowed roach under that Nexus. Very, very nice move. It's very annoying, I can tell, playing against this, especially as a Terran player, because you rarely get Ravens to be able to detect those. But if you put a burrowed Zergling at all the possible expansions, it really stops. And this is a lot of Lings, a lot of heavily upgraded Lings. It looks like he's going to be going for a sandwich move in which he can flank both sides and just be able to trap his opponent, MC. Hopefully, try to drain some energy from the... Oh, it looks like he's actually not going to be doing that. He tried to move across, but because of the existence of this wall off, his Zerglings automatically pathed around it. Meanwhile, the Colossus came out just in time to be able to pop those Infestors, but the Infestors are fungal growthing the Colossus, and the Zerglings should be able to pick them off. Something MC, it was good to use the Colossus to try to pick off the Infestors, but he should have been a little bit more careful about it. Meanwhile, we do see the Zerglings were able to bust through the wall up here, able to take out some of the Zealots. They should probably back off now, though. Well, it looks like they're going to get... Oh, not going to get a Sentry. That Sentry is lucky to be alive. He is counting his lucky stars. He is praying to whichever god Protoss worships. I guess, I don't know, for Ire or whatever. Meanwhile, we just see the Infestors have moved in. They did a lot of damage fungal growth in these probes. We see on the workers killed, we see that he's killed 17 workers so far versus 0 that the Protoss player has killed. Nice force fields trapping that last Infestor and be able to take him out. Infestors are really expensive gas-wise, which is, of course, the more valuable resource because you have to get it out of the best-speed geysers. Meanwhile, this Zergling, which was harassing before, is still doing a little bit of damage, but he's been taken out now. Title lesson 2. I don't believe this gateway is going to be at full health, though, when it finishes, which I guess really doesn't matter, but potentially could. Meanwhile, we do see that Naugrim is on 4 bases now. It's always important for Zerg to stay ahead on bases because that's just kind of the way the race is designed. It's designed to take advantage of its speed and its mobility to be able to maintain control of more bases than your opponents, and then actually, like Protoss units, for example, are more efficient per resource than Zerg units. And the game's just designed that way. That's the way it's fair. And the Zerglings, again, through the pathing, are just going to go ahead and go around. You need to be careful. Or maybe he's intentionally doing that, actually. It's very possible he just wants to move straight into the probes. And actually, if he can attack these sentries, he can deal a lot of damage. These sentries are extremely valuable to the Protoss player. Each of these sentries represents 100 gas, which I can tell you from personal experience, 100 gas is a lot of an investment. That was 500 gas just lost at the cost of maybe 12 Zerglings. That is absolutely nothing, and that is a really bad blow to the Protoss player, because not only does he have to replace those sentries, which he already does have 5, which is a pretty sizable amount, and 4 Colossus, which the Zerg player is definitely going to have trouble dealing with. And we should go ahead and check to see... Yes, we do have Neuroparasite, which is a temporary mind control that Infestors can have, and we do see the Baneling drops coming, as I was talking about earlier, as well as a attack speed upgrade for Zerglings. But Neuroparasite's temporary mind control, which is really useful against Colossus. Not as useful as against Terran. Neuroparasite's extremely effective against Terran.